What's a secret your child kept from you that broke your heart? I thought I had the perfect kid. My 10-year-old son, Evan, never complained about anything. Every morning I packed him his favorite peanut butter sandwiches, apple slices, and chocolate milk. He'd give me a quick hug, tell me he loved the lunch, and head off to school with a smile. But one afternoon, while cleaning out his backpack, I found something that made my stomach drop. Shoved way down in the side pocket were 3 moldy sandwiches wrapped in napkins. The bread was green and disgusting. I pulled out more stuff and found bags of uneaten chips, rotting apple slices, and unopened juice boxes. I was confused and worried. Evan always came home from school absolutely starving, asking for snacks the second he walked through the door. I figured maybe he was being bullied and stress was killing his appetite. When I asked him about the food, he just shrugged and said he wasn't hungry at lunch anymore. Something felt off, so I decided to check his lunchbox when he got home the next day. Empty. Completely empty. Not a single crumb left behind. The same thing happened the rest of the week. His lunch was gone, but he was still coming home acting like he hadn't eaten all day. I called his teacher during my lunch break and asked if she noticed anything strange. She paused for a long time before saying, "Evan spent most of lunch period walking around the cafeteria instead of sitting down to eat." She said she'd seen him talking to other kids but never saw him actually touch his food. That's when I made a decision that changed everything. The next morning, I told my boss I had a dentist appointment and drove to Evan's school. I parked across the street and waited until lunchtime, then snuck over to peek through the cafeteria windows. What I saw made my heart completely shatter. There was Evan sitting at a table in the far corner with a boy I'd never seen before. This kid looked so thin I could see his ribs through his torn shirt. He had no lunch tray, no food, nothing. Just sitting there with his head down while other kids laughed and ate around him. I watched as Evan quietly opened his lunchbox and started pulling everything out. He placed his sandwich on the other boy's side of the table, then his chips, then his apple slices. The thin kid looked up with tears in his eyes and whispered something to Evan. My son just smiled and patted his shoulder like it was the most normal thing in the world. Then Evan got up and threw his empty lunchbox away. He spent the rest of lunch period sitting with this boy, talking and making him laugh. When the bell rang, both kids walked out together, the thin boy clutching Evan's sandwich like it was made of gold. I sat in my car crying for 20 minutes before driving home. That evening, when Evan came bursting through the door asking for snacks, I didn't say anything. I just watched him devour 2 sandwiches and a bowl of cereal like he'd been starving all day. Finally, I sat him down on the couch and asked him to tell me the truth about lunch. His face went bright red and he started fidgeting with his hands. After a few minutes of silence, he finally whispered, "Mom, Lucas doesn't have lunch money. His dad left and his mom works at night so she can't pack him food. He's my friend and I don't want him to be hungry." My throat got so tight I could barely speak. I asked him how long this had been going on. He said quietly, "Since the beginning of school." He was sitting alone and his stomach was making noises. I had extra food so I shared, but then I realized he never had food, so I just started giving him mine. I asked why he never told me, and he said he was scared I'd make him stop. He said Lucas was too embarrassed to ask for help and made Evan promise not to tell any adults. Evan had been lying about being full after school and sneaking extra snacks before bed, so I wouldn't figure out he was skipping lunch. The next morning I packed 2 identical lunches. When Evan saw them, his eyes filled with tears. I told him I was proud of him for taking care of his friend, but that it was my job to make sure both boys ate. I also called the school and found out about their free lunch program. Turns out Lucas's mom had been too proud to apply, but after I helped her with the paperwork, he started getting breakfast and lunch every day. Evan had been quietly starving himself for 2 months, just so his friend wouldn't feel alone. He never complained once.